Hey everyone, here I am again, committing to myself and committing to you. So a few days ago, I went live and I asked a question. I said, what are some things that you are interested in hearing me talk about? And one of the things that came up was life activation and why it's beneficial. And most people know that I'm very passionate about life activation, and it completely changed my life. But I can sit here and tell you all day about all the different things that life activation can do, but I'd rather share my story and what happened for me upon receiving a life activation. So I'm going to give just like a little bit of backstory for me. And I'm also going to get pretty vulnerable here and share some of the things that I went through prior to receiving my life activation. So, I have always felt that I had some sort of gift. I'm sure many people feel this, but, different gifts too. And I didn't really know how to figure out what those gifts actually are. And so it was kind of just like wandering around, searching, going through the motions of life, doing the things that I was supposed to do, the things that society tells you to do. I was with a man that I was very, very in love with for a number of years, and we got married, and he opened his own business and was following his dreams. And as I was watching him do that, I realized that I was feeling so unfulfilled in my own job. And while I had an amazing job with amazing coworkers, it was a wonderful company, and I still am in touch with a lot of those people. They've become some of my closest and longest friends. I just felt that there was something inside of me that I wasn't able to access through that profession. And so I've always been very interested in beauty. And my hairstylist for a number of years would tell me, like, Stacey, you're so good at this. Like, you have an eye for this. You should really consider going to cosmetology school. And I was like, oh no, that's not going to be for me. I don't think I can do that. I've got a really good job. I'm really safe. I'm really solid. That's not gonna work. But upon getting married and watching my husband open his own business and start to live his dreams, that fire got ignited within me. So I talked to him and I said, I really want to go to beauty school. And he said, well, go to beauty school. Do what you want to do. And so I was very fortunate at the time that I could work and go to school at the same time. So I did that for a number of months, and it really started to take a toll on me emotionally and physically. And it also started to take a toll on our marriage. And so eventually I quit my job because I really wanted to be a good wife. Like, it was so important to me that I was a good wife and I was good to him and he was good to me, and that I truly felt in my heart and soul that we were going to be together forever. So I quit my job and I went to school full time, and I knew that I wanted to figure out the fastest way for me to make the most amount of money. So what I did is I found the best salon in Austin, and I applied at that salon. And lucky for me, I got hired. So as soon as I finished beauty school, I started working as an apprentice at that salon. And I remember getting the phone call from the manager, or from the owner, and he said, hey, we would love for you to come work with us. We would love for you to be a part of the team. And I remember driving down Lamar in Austin. Most people in Austin will know that road, but I was driving down South Lamar, and I got off the phone and I was just so excited. and Florence and the Machines, The Dog Days Are Over was playing, and it was just like, it was the sun was shining, and I was like, yes, like I've made it. Like I'm finally gonna start doing like what I want to be doing. So I started working in the salon, working my butt off. I know I have lots of stylist friends that have, worked in a salon and done an apprenticeship, and it is grueling. And I did that for about a year and a half. But upon me, I think it was about a month before I was to go onto the floor and become a full-time stylist and seeing my own clients, my marriage completely fell apart. I remember my ex and I, we were in our bedroom and we were fighting, and I was so nervous and I was so upset, and he was very upset, and we were just going back and forth, and he said, well, I don't know what we should do. What do you think we should do? And I said, I think we should get a divorce. And that was one of the absolute hardest things that I have ever had to do. Didn't really know this was gonna happen. But saying no to what I thought was going to be my life, and eventually making the choice to file for divorce. It's one thing to say you're gonna get a divorce, but when you actually go and file those papers with a lawyer, it's completely different. So, at that point, the next morning after I said we should get a divorce, I packed up a good portion of my things and put them in my car, and I went to work. And I remember just breaking down at my station, and one of my coworkers came up to me and she assured me that everything was going to be okay, and that it was all going to work out, and that I was supported and that I was loved. And I really felt that so much from my community at that point. So I didn't really have much of anything. It was really funny, the things that I had. I told him I didn't want anything except for, some, like the half of the condo that we lived in. I didn't want the furniture. I took some kitchen stuff, and I took my knickknacks and like odds and ends that I had had for years. And I didn't even have a bed at that point. So I moved in with my good friend from the salon. She was one of my best friends, still is one of my really good friends. I moved in with her and her husband and their baby. And I lived with them for a few weeks. And then eventually another one of my coworkers was going through a similar situation. And he reached out to me and was like, hey, I heard you're looking for a roommate. I've got this house. Like, why don't you come by and I'll meet your dog? And so I ended up moving in with him, and he is still very much so one of my good friends to this day, and I'll always have a really special bond with him. But over the next 6 months, my life was really dark. The space that I was in emotionally and spiritually was probably one of the darkest that I've ever been in. I was drinking and smoking and isolating and partying and numbing myself to anything and everything. I just didn't want to feel the pain of failure. I felt this immense failure, that I had failed my husband, I had failed my marriage, I had failed myself, I had failed my family. And it was, I had like this debilitating anxiety and of course depression, and it was just so intense. And so over the next, I guess it was probably 10 months after the divorce was finalized. It was finalized very quickly. I made sure to get it. I was like, we're done. Like, I can't try and like drag this out. I don't want, you know, this to go on forever. Like, this is the one thing I want, and I don't want anything else, against the advice of my lawyer. She was like, you really should. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not a monster. Like, I just want this one thing, and that's it. So the divorce was finalized within 3 months of me filing. And about, I would say, 7 to 8 months after that, that was like my darkest time. Like, I was just really, really in a bad space. And towards the end of that time, I started to get this message. And the message was, stop drinking, stop smoking, stop doing all of this like numbing. Like, you have something that you're supposed to do. You have people that you're supposed to help. And I was like, yeah, eventually I'll figure that out. I'll work up to that. So I kept drinking, and like, eventually it got to the point to where I couldn't get high anymore. Like, I could not get high. And so I was just like, well, shit, like, you know, I'm just wasting all this time, energy, money. Like, I might as well like figure something out. So in that time frame, like, one of my friends from high school, she is an acupuncturist, an herbalist, and just an all around positive, wonderful person. Come to find out years later, I kept seeing these Instagram and Facebook posts by her, and they were so uplifting and so inspirational. And I just felt like I should reach out to her, but I was like, what the hell am I going to say to this girl? Like, she's going to think I'm crazy. So finally one day I just worked up the nerve, and I was like, hey, I don't really know why I'm messaging you, but I feel like you're supposed to help heal me or something like that. And she reached back out, and she was like, oh, I'm so glad to hear from you. Yeah, let's set up something and let's start working together. So she and I started to work together over the next couple of weeks. And we were driving somewhere together, and she said, you know, I just keep getting the message to take you to the mystery school. And I was like, what? A mystery school? What do you mean a mystery school? Didn't those like all die out in ancient Egypt? Like, I thought they were all like extinct, you know, what a real mystery school? And she was like, yeah, real mystery school. So she took me to this place called Activate Austin, which if you follow me at all on social media, you're like, oh, well, that's like your home now. But anyway, she took me to Activate Austin. And when I walked in the door, immediately I could feel something different. Immediately there was just like this like lightness, this weight that almost had been lifted off of my shoulders. And it was really, really unlike anything I've ever felt before. And as I walked in, I realized, I was like, okay, this is definitely different. But let's just like go in here and kind of be cool. Stacy, be cool. So we went in for a vision board night, and we did a drop-in meditation. And it was so short. It was super, super short. But I remember we were all standing together in a circle, and there had to have been like maybe 10 of us there that night. And we're standing in this circle around all these supplies and like, you know, like magazines and poster boards and scissors and glue and, you know, all sorts of fun things. And Vanessa, who is one of the co-founders of Activate Austin, she was leading the meditation. And so I don't even remember what she said, but what she said moved me so much that I just started crying. And she could sense that I was crying, and she put her hand on my shoulder. And in that moment, I knew I was home. I was like, this is it. This is what I've been looking for. And after that, Vanessa was like, oh, you could come in for a consultation. We'd love to have you for tea, and we can talk. And I was like, yes, let's do it. So it probably was like I think it was that vision board night was probably like on a Friday night, and then Monday I went in for my consultation. And I was sitting with Vanessa, and I was sitting with my life activation practitioner, Emily. And she showed me the path within the mystery school. And within the modern mystery school, there are two paths. It's the path of the healer and the path of the warrior. And as soon as she told me about the path of the warrior, I was like, that's it. That's what I want. That's what I'm looking for. And so at that point, I was completely sold. But then I received my life activation probably the next day. Because this all happened like literally within a week's time. I received my life activation from Emily, and I remember walking into the space, and she was sitting in the room, and she was ready to receive me, and it just felt really like just peaceful and serene and calming, and you know, it was very different from anything, again, very different from anything that I had ever experienced before. And after my life activation, I remember like I was hot, Emily was hot, like it was just, the heart connection, it was just like so strong, and it was so beautiful and vibrant. And so yeah, that the next week, I guess it was a few days after that, I had already decided that I was going to take the Empower Thyself class. And I was at work, and the class takes in Austin, it took place on a Saturday and a Sunday. And I had work on that Saturday. And I was like, well, I guess I'm going to call in. Like, you know, there's no way I'm missing this class. Like, I have to do this class. And at that point, I was sitting at work, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, I don't feel good. I feel like I have the flu. Like, this is not good. I'm supposed to take this class. Like, I mean, I said I was going to call in sick, but now I'm actually getting sick, and I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to take the class. And so anyway, it was a little nerve-wracking. So the next morning I woke up and I was like, shit, like I'm still feeling bad. Like, it's Friday morning, this class is tomorrow. Like, I mean, it was like really bad flu symptoms. And by that afternoon, I was completely fine. Like, I was totally normal. And I was like, what the hell was that? And I remember texting Christina, my acupuncturist and herbalist and friend, and I was like, so this just happened. She was like, you just got blasted with light. And I was like, oh my gosh, so that's interesting. Like, that's also never happened before. Okay, maybe this is like the real freaking deal. So I took the Empower Thyself class that weekend, and it was incredible. It opened my mind, opened my awareness, opened my connection to God and to myself. And it was just, I mean, I highly recommend not only life activation, but especially Empower Thyself, because you receive an initiation in that class. You receive 10 times your current state of light in that class. And I don't know if anybody else ever feels like they can't get everything done, but once you get that like 10 times the light, along with other things and working on yourselves, it just like, it makes you like have this ripple effect. Like, you have so much more impact with that light. You can do so much more. Like, you can affect so many more people. And I feel like, you know, so many people in the world today are looking to help and serve others. And I mean, can you imagine like what that would look like for you if you had 10 times the capacity that you currently do? Like, it's incredible. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that and just share my journey and my story, and you know, let people know what happened for me. Because after that class, I felt like such a change within myself. And Aaron and Vanessa, the founders of Activate Austin, for a number of months, they kept telling me, like, you've got to go out on your own. Like, do you realize, like, working for a salon, like, I know you love it and you're dedicated and those people are amazing, but do you realize what you can do on your own? And I was just so scared. And I truly feel that after the life activation and after the Empower Thyself class, after those things, finally integrated within me, because that does take some time. It's not like you just get it immediately and, oh, you're like in perfect shape. There's definitely an integration process. And with that light, you know, it does push out, you know, things that are not light. And so it will highlight and show you different places in your life that are not working for you. And while like working at my salon was amazing and I love those people, and still to this day, I'm so grateful for my experience there. I'm so grateful for the owners there and management and the staff. For me, it just wasn't a place for me to continue to grow and move forward with my spirituality and with bridging beauty and spirituality, because it's been a little over 2 years now since my activation and initiation, and I have finally started to step into my purpose, which I've shared that with some people, but my purpose, I feel, is to bridge that gap in between beauty and spirituality, because beauty is not external. Beauty truly comes from within. And if you are not confident with who you are internally, you're never going to be confident with how you appear externally. So yeah, I just really want to make a splash, and maybe more than a splash, definitely more than a splash, in the beauty industry. And I just feel that my mission is to show every man and every woman, like, you are beautiful both internally and externally. And for me, like, really embracing my beauty came upon receiving lots of different healings and healing modalities, and learning to know myself and learning to truly love myself, which is another thing that I'm going to get into. But yeah, I just appreciate everybody who has been watching and has stuck through, hopefully since the beginning. And if not, you can catch the recording of this. But thank you for hearing me. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for being you and for choosing to be here now. It's this life and this existence is such a gift, and I just really want to share that with as many people as possible. So if you have any questions about anything, feel free to drop any comments or send me a private message. I am just, again, so grateful for this experience and for you to share it with me. So yeah, would love to hear from you, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.